Good afternoon, RevEd community. Hi, I'm Edgar Palacios. I am the founder of Revolución Educativa, and this is my colleague, Trisha McGee, our Senior Director of Communications. How's it going, Trisha?
I've been better. Seeing news this morning come out about an advocate and colleague, it's not exciting over here. Not thrilled.
Definitely not exciting, and definitely an opportunity for us to actually talk about some of the ridiculous things that are happening across the country when it comes to the removal of freedom of expression, right? The removal of the right to express yourself freely in this country. Also, like just the ridiculous nature of arresting somebody for going above and beyond a false, I would say, time limit for public comment. So we decided today that we were going to be talking about this issue, but also how it impacts our community here locally and how we actually need to move forward on these issues, right? So we're going to talk here a little bit about the issue. Just quickly, RevEd is an organization that's working to build power within the Latino community around issues of education. And we really think about how do we create the necessary conditions for the advancement of Latino youth. And part of that is parent engagement and solid parent engagement. We understand that when parents and schools are united, when they are a team, when they are willing to be in conversation with each other, that educational outcomes improve for students, right? And that's important to understand because there are very few ways that parents actually get to engage with schools. One of them is at school board meetings, and one of them is public comment, which, by the way, is not a conversation, as we've learned over the years, right? Public comment is a one-way dialogue where you may or may not get a response from a local district. So the fact that parents, even there, out of their own time, out of the school time, and ensuring that they're communicating with the district, that's a big deal. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what happened earlier today. Anything that I'm missing, Trisha?
No, I think it's important to highlight that this is an issue that's going to potentially affect all 15,000 public school districts across the nation. We've seen voices silenced at public town halls and in other settings, but our public schools are also part of our public systems. And so people have rights that are guaranteed under law. And this parent was showing up to share feedback after continued engagement and efforts to collaborate and communicate with the district. And so to see someone like this be literally hauled out of the room in handcuffs is horrifying, and it makes me a little afraid for democracy. So I'm going to share screen so people can see what it is exactly that we're talking about.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's important to disclose a couple of things here. First and foremost, the person we're talking about is Maribel Gardea. And Maribel Gardea is the co-founder of Mindshift Ed, which is a organization in San Antonio, Texas. I'm doing incredible work around engaging families with different school districts, ensuring that their voices are being heard, that their concerns are being taken seriously. And they're also training parent advocates, right? They're ensuring that parents understand their due process, their rights, how to better engage with school systems. And Maribel actually happens to be a friend of RevEd's, right? Not just a friend of the organization, but our friend as well. And so to see this news in the morning was devastating, to see that this actually happened to an incredible community leader, a credible leader in the community, and that this is happening in parents, and this sets a precedent for it to happen in other places is wild. And so just if you want to share just a little bit more of the story, Trisha.
Yeah, so a little backstory. As you can assume that all of us here at RevEd and LEC have full-time jobs and duties that we do outside of hopping on lives to share that friends and colleagues have been arrested for exercising their rights. So when Edgar texted me this morning, I didn't watch it because I was headed into giving a training for something. And so when I watched this video about 10 minutes ago arriving in here, I was appalled. She was literally, let's see if I can get it to play on screen, dragged out of the school board meeting.
Dragged out of a school meeting for also doing the work of interpreting her own messaging, right? So she delivered messaging in public comment, both in English and Spanish. Typically, when that happens, districts have a policy that you can extend your time, right? Because you're not just communicating to the board members, you're also talking to the community as well. And you're ensuring that there's some language access opportunity there. So the families that are being served and thought about or centered in that moment also have access to the information. So it is wild to see that the district, which is Edgewood ISD, right? Edgewood Independent School District in Texas, made the decision to have her arrested because she extended the time, right? Or went over the time. Maybe if they just let her finish and accommodated the fact that it's not an easy thing to do two languages and to provide messaging in two languages. Like that would have been a very different thing. This is where I also want to shout out our local school district, Kansas City Public Schools. And I would say actually our board chair, Rita Cortez, who has been in a similar situation, ensuring that actually that families are able to both share their public comment in both English and Spanish. And there's grace given, right? There's grace given to the amount of time that is utilized, because we understand that we're not just communicating both not just in English, but in Spanish. So
let me add there. Yeah, Edgar. So let me add there how we got there here locally. I think many of our RevEd followers are bilingual or multilingual individuals, but decision makers across the country are in fact monolingual English speakers here in the United States. And so about a year and a half ago, I gave public comment after several personal friends and advocates had been given the chance to give, had taken the chance to give public comment and had their public comment interpreted inaccurately or had been cut off time because they had both of their public comment prepared, both in English and in Spanish. And so after seeing that happen more than once, I prepared some examples, English to Spanish, Spanish to English, and also some other languages with the help of local colleagues. What I don't think monolingual speakers may not understand is that every language takes a different amount of time to express. So Spanish can take up to 30% longer to express the same sentiment, not at any sort of for any deficit reason. That's just how the language works. So every language has its own cadence, how many words you say to mean one word in English. Some languages I'm sure are quicker than English, but if you don't have that baseline understanding, I'm disappointed in this superintendent in the state of Texas, where there are surely very many multilingual individuals that speak Spanish there, for making the decision not to give them extra time. But when I give public comment, highlighting this to the board, multiple board members are very receptive. They had, I'm sure, conversations behind closed doors and decided we want to hear from all constituents. We understand that reading something, even if it's translated word for word, may take longer in Spanish or in Swahili or in Vietnamese than it might in English. And so they were able to make that decision and adjust so they could hear from everyone. That's clearly not the case in Edgewood, at least for now.
I think something that's really important also to kind of discern here is that this isn't law, right? Like nobody's breaking a law by actually speaking longer than their allotted time. I want to be very clear about that. Like this is actually an issue of discernment, right? It is an issue of can we go ahead and adjust this policy in this moment to ensure that the message is received and that everybody is heard, right? This isn't actually an issue of equity, right? Because we're not talking about equality here, which is everybody gets the same amount of time. Like, are we allowing people to actually get the messaging in the languages that are necessary and communicating with the folks who they got to be communicating with? I'm speaking really fast because I'm really fired up about this. And this honestly just pisses me off. It really pisses me off that we work incredibly hard at ensuring that families and caregivers are well positioned to communicate and to effectively partner with districts. And this is how they're being treated. Parents are getting arrested. Also, this sets a terrible precedent because if this is what the district decides that they can do, they're going to influence other districts across the country to do the same thing. Right? And like this idea behind decorum, right? Let's talk about the board's decorum in this moment and arresting a parent who's there to support, who's there to advocate, who's there to do the work that is required in order for a community to actually educate its children. And that's that to me is wild. It is ridiculous. And I'm so grateful in this moment that local districts in Kansas City have not done that. In fact, they have accommodated the different language needs, and that they're actually leaning into this idea that maybe it's important for us to actually be able to communicate in multiple languages because we serve kids that speak multiple languages.
So one thing I do want to highlight as well, it's not law that public comment goes a certain way in a certain district. There are funds that are tied to family engagement. So the public school districts across the country receive money from the federal government to engage their families. And so we can't receive messaging like parents are your first and most important teacher. Parents read with your kids at home. Parents come to our parent teacher conference. Parents help us with these fundraisers. School districts cannot expect parents to show up in only ways that they like and then shut them down when we have valid feedback. It says here in the article that they had made over 40 attempts to engage with the district in good faith, offering listening circles, being all in to find a collaborative solution to the issue that they're seeing. And even still, they weren't being heard. So I'm not sure what other remedy the district really was looking for families to do on their own dime, on their own time.
just plain ridiculous.
What else do we say? It's
Like, what else can you say to this moment? And I think this is the work, right? And I say this often: education is not a school district endeavor. It is a community endeavor, right? Like, we have to be in partnership with our local districts, our local educators, our local like, it is a community sport. In order for us to educate children appropriately and to well resource them, we have to do this as a community. And the fact that, like, we're creating situations where people can get arrested just for one, respectfully. Okay, it's not like the board meeting was shut down in any way, shape, or form, right? It was simply a matter of extending the time. They could have just extended the time and said thank you, and we will get back to you. Like, that was an active choice that they could have made. Instead, they went ahead and, I guess, instructed their SROs to do this and to, like, publicly shame a parent.
a parent who's long advocated for her child and the children that live in this district. Yeah.
Publicly discredit a parent, one of their most powerful parents in the district, I believe. It's insane to me. And so I'm urging caution to other folks in this community and to other folks across the country that, like, if this is what Edgewood is going to do, then it's certain that other school districts are going to follow in this moment. And I'm just highly disappointed in the fact that a district can get away with this, and that they would not consider actually just revising their policies. So maybe if there's a need for language access, or maybe if there's a need for interpretation, that they actually make different accommodations, because that's the reality. Do you want to be a good partner, or do you want to be an arbitrator of, like, what's legal and illegal? Because arrested, insane.
It is wild to me. And what I think that this actually brings to mind for me as well is that we can't leave advocacy to just advocacy organization and just advocates. Maribel does so much advocacy alongside other parent leaders and community folks that she knows down in Texas. But it also has to be teachers. It also has to be some of those board members. How many people were sitting inside that boardroom when they cuffed her and walked her out? Everyone needs to understand what everyone's rights is and be willing to be like, you know what, this doesn't feel right for me, my school, and my community. Why are you doing it? Because it's after the fact. After she was put in a police car, advocacy organizations across the US were like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're arresting a parent for no reason? We need someone doing that in the moment every time. Not just one person, multiple people.
Again, community, right? And I think this is an opportunity also to shout out our partners, National Parents Union, for showing up and showing out in this moment, ensuring that Maribel has and had everything that she needed in order to be released. I believe that Maribel, as of now, is released. And hopefully she's already talking to media. Hopefully she's already stating her case, because we understand how these narratives get hijacked and how we're talking about this is respectability politics at its worst. Okay, respectability politics at its worst. And it's not student-centered. It is not student-centric. It is about power and control in really weird ways. Again, I don't know what else to say, because the ridiculous nature of this and the fact that this is allowed and tolerated, not just by the district itself, but by community, is insane to me. Like, so we should have a call to action here. Trisha, what do you think our call to action should be?
Well, I think the call to action on one hand, on behalf of our friends NPU, there's Christy chiming in. Maribel has been released. Thanks for confirming, Christy. Is to connect with national organizations doing the work, but also locally in your district, in your school. Every parent everywhere has inherent power, and we need to make sure that when things like this happen, that the rest of us are willing to step up and be like, absolutely not in my neighborhood. So if you've never viewed yourself as an advocate, you're not sure what to do, reach out to RevEd, reach out to NPU, reach out to Maribel to see how you can be supporting her and her organization to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. We know that it's going to. I know we're wrapping up here, but I also want to say, did they let the people that were talking about book bans go over minutes? You know, I think certain parents are potentially allowed to speak over time, while not all are. So yes, Mindshift Ed was mentioned earlier. Thank you, Christy, for that reminder on Maribel's organization. So get involved, lean all the way in this hard moment is what I would say.
I also hope that the community shows up at the next board meeting where public comment is allowed, and that they fill the slate of potential speakers, and that they show up in solidarity with Maribel and her organization and parents across the district. Like, parents should not be silenced in any way, shape, or form. Like, we should create protocols that allow for parents to be able to share their opinions and their thoughts in their partnership efforts. I understand, like, meetings are long, there's protocols for a reason. I can appreciate all of that, but one thing that I cannot appreciate nor tolerate is the fact that you're going to arrest somebody for going a minute or two over time. 30 minutes, maybe a consideration, maybe not. 45 minutes, maybe a consideration, maybe not. 2 minutes, ridiculous. And somebody had to pay for that too. Anyways, I'm angry, but as Trisha mentioned, engage with your local and national organizations, but show up most importantly in this moment. Show up for folks like Maribel, who are doing incredible things by their community, and who are showing up on behalf of parents and alongside parents to make sure that our young people have the best education possible. Anyways, so shout out to Maribel, shout out to Mindshift Ed, and to all the people that are doing amazing things in schools. And I hope that districts do learn something from this, right? I hope it's not that we're going to arrest people for offering public comment, which again is a part of being in community, but that they'll say, hey, maybe we should look at our policies to ensure that people have ample time to share their thoughts and opinions, and that we can invite them into an ongoing conversation about how to better improve our ecosystem.
And with that, stay angry, stay active, stay activated, I guess we'll end with, because this can't continue to happen.
Shame on you, Edgewood. Shame on you.
Right.